And I realize that in the end, many of my fellow conservatives will not be able to support this reform. But I hope you will understand that I honestly believe that it's the right thing to do for this country. To finally have an immigration system that works, to finally have a fence, to finally have more agents and E-Verify, and to finally put an end to de facto amnesty. In my heart and in my mind, I know that we must solve this problem once and for all.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's Marco Rubio yesterday addressing his fellow conservatives on the floor of the Senate. We're about 53 minutes away or so from the final vote on immigration reform in the Senate, and joining us right now to talk about that and much, much more, including his brand new book, Why John Roberts Was Wrong About Health Care, is Senator Mike Lee, Republican, Utah. Hello, sir. How are you, Senator?
Doing great. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for coming on with us. It's a big day. I don't consider it a happy day. I have a feeling you're not going to be voting with Marco Rubio and the majority in the Senate. What will this vote mean once the votes are counted and this passes, sir?
Well, I think it will mean that it goes over to the House of Representatives, where it will be essentially dead on arrival. The House of Representatives has made clear that they want to do this the right way, which is through a step-by-step approach. And
you agree with that, obviously. And your first concern, I believe, is border security, correct?
Yeah, my first concern is border security. I mean, look, this needs to be done in several steps. We need a border security bill. We need a bill dealing with visa modernization to bring our legal immigration system into the 21st century. We've been mired in old, outdated laws that don't really meet the needs of our economy very well. We need to update these things and make sure that we fix the underlying problem of illegal immigration. We need to do that before we jump to what they're trying to do here, which is to start at the front end with a pathway to citizenship for those who have broken our laws.
Senator, are you disappointed in your fellow Republicans, the ones who will be on board for this? Do you buy into the notion that Republicans have to do this to save the party, to win the presidency, to gain a bigger percentage of the Hispanic vote? Or do you agree with the Pew Research poll that polled Hispanics coming out of the polling place in 2012, and immigration reform was number 4 or 5 on their list of priorities?
Yeah, I tend to agree that this is fairly low on the list of voter priorities. And I do disagree with my fellow Republicans who have said we just have to do this. I mean, yeah, sure, we need immigration reform, but this bill is not going to get us there. What this bill is going to do is it's going to grant amnesty to 11 million people, perhaps more, and it's going to make promises about visa modernization and border security, but we're not going to necessarily achieve border security because those things are after the fact. Those things will be accomplished, if at all, only many years after we've already put 11 million people on a pathway to citizenship that's virtually certain.
Yeah, and there are so many amendments, so many provisions in this bill that we keep finding out about. Now we read that ICE will have to stop deportation of criminals who are illegals and give them 2.5 years to apply for citizenship. I mean, all kinds of crazy things that, I don't know how anybody voting for this could possibly know that it's in the bill.
That's right. Look, they took a 1,000-page bill, which was complex enough in and of itself, and over the last weekend, they substituted it for a significantly different 1,200-page bill. And, Monday they came back and immediately demanded on a vote for this 1,200-page bill that very few senators had read and even fewer could claim fully to understand. So, the process behind this bill gives me additional reasons to oppose it.
Senator, you're on the Foreign Relations Committee, and I want you to hear a soundbite from Barack Obama in Senegal earlier today talking about Edward Snowden. Major Garrett of CBS News asked him if he would be planning or willing to scramble jets if a plane was over U.S. airspace that had Snowden on board, since we're not getting any cooperation in extradition efforts, in order to legally snatch him from the air and bring him back to the U.S. And here's what he said, cut 25.
No, I'm not going to be scrambling jets to get a 29-year-old hacker.
Should he have said that? Should he have revealed what he would or wouldn't do? And calling him a 29-year-old hacker certainly doesn't convey a sense of urgency to the people he's trying to get to honor extradition treaties, or people like Russia who he wants to have cooperate with us.
Yeah, look, I'm not sure why he would signal publicly what he would or wouldn't do. And I don't know what his strategy was there. Perhaps he's got something else up his sleeve that we're not aware of. But that doesn't seem to me, on its face, to be something that's wise to say what he would or wouldn't do. Nor do I think this is the case of a simple hacker. Now, look, a lot of people feel differently about Mr. Snowden. Some people love the guy and are willing to praise him. Other people are scared to death of him and want him locked up. But regardless of how you feel about him, the fact that he's been charged here in the United States should mean something to us. The fact that he is alleged to possess something like 4 computer hard drives that have a lot of additional sensitive classified material, and that he may be willing to give this to our enemies, is itself potentially a big, huge problem. And so that's another reason why the president's statement surprises me a little bit, because I would think he wouldn't refer to him as just a 29-year-old hacker.
Absolutely. We're talking to Senator Mike Lee, and we're going to get to his book in a second, Why John Roberts Was Wrong About Healthcare. But one more, Russia won't cooperate with us. China and Hong Kong wouldn't cooperate with us and honor a treaty. Now, Ecuador is spitting in our face, saying that they're being defiant in the face of warnings not to grant asylum to Snowden. If, in fact, he heads there, they're actually turning away U.S. trade benefits and saying, we're not going to extradite him. I thought the world was going to open up their arms to the great Barack Obama, and it was the evil George Bush that made countries not like us, and Obama was going to change all that, and everyone would love us. Why is everyone giving us such a hard time?
Yeah, well, that has caught up with him. And as it turns out, not everyone is doing as he suggested they would do now that he's been president of the United States for 4.5 years. So that is a problem. This problem is much broader than that.
Okay, let's talk about your book, and first weigh in, if you will, sir. John Roberts was on. I would think you would say on the correct side of the issues yesterday in the 2 rulings on Prop 8 and on DOMA. Maybe you wouldn't say that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you think that he should have taken a tougher stand and addressed Prop 8. But what were your takes on yesterday's rulings?
Well, I think he was right on DOMA, and I don't think he was right on Prop 8. I think there's a problem with the fact that you've got basically a friendly suit in California. The people who brought the suit and the people who were defending the state against the suit were both on the same page. They both wanted the law to go down in flames, and I think that creates a precedent-setting problem when you say, in that circumstance, I guess no one has standing to defend the law. And so you've got the federal judicial authority being used potentially to invalidate or at least make less meaningful a law passed within a state. And so, yeah, I'm not willing to say that Chief Justice Roberts got it right yesterday, at least not on the Proposition 8 case.
And of course, by virtue of the name of your book, Why John Roberts Was Wrong About Health Care, a conservative critique of the Supreme Court's Obamacare ruling. I know you think he was wrong, as I do, on Obamacare. And what this is setting up, people don't even have a clue what lies ahead, whether you're an elderly patient, a young patient, a business owner. Every aspect of our society is going to be devastated, in my opinion, by what John Roberts has helped bring to this country.
That's right, and that's why I wrote Why John Roberts Was Wrong About Healthcare. I wanted to come up with an easy-to-read, inexpensive book. You can buy it for about $3.99, I think, on Amazon, that would explain to people what the Supreme Court did when it upheld Obamacare, why they ought to be concerned with the fact that the court rewrote it not just once but twice in order to uphold it, thus putting in place a document that is very different than the one that Congress actually enacted, and what they can do about it moving forward.
Well, why do you think he, according to many accounts, changed his mind the way he did on Obamacare?
one of the many questions I attempt to address in the book. And, you know, as we have just passed the one-year anniversary of this horrible ruling, we can remember what happened in the few weeks leading up to that ruling last year. If you remember, there were a lot of people, a lot of Democrats in the Senate who, along with the White House, appeared to be engaged in something of a coordinated campaign to try to signal to the Chief Justice that he would be ridiculed publicly and privately if, in fact, he was part of a decision to invalidate Obamacare. Now, at the time, I didn't think that Chief Justice Roberts was vulnerable to that sort of thing. But as it turned out, I guess he might have been, because a lot of fairly credible press reports have indicated that, based on some rare inside sources within the Supreme Court, they concluded that Chief Justice Roberts initially was voting to invalidate Obamacare, as the law and the facts of the case required, but then he changed his mind. He changed his mind apparently about the same time that this public campaign started against the Chief Justice.
Let me ask you a question, which may be really off the beaten path here, but do you fear, and I'm not asking you to be specific to that case at all, but do you fear that with all the NSA revelations, which you may feel personally are necessary for our safety, but nonetheless, do you fear that this leaves people in all walks of government open to blackmail?
Well, of course. I mean, all of that is a possibility. Now, I'm not one that goes around town wearing a tinfoil hat. I do believe, however, we've got to be mindfully weary of government power. The more powerful we make government, we give the IRS even more power than it has now, so as to tell us where to go to the doctor and how to pay for it, for example, as we're about to experience. We become less free, less secure, and we lose privacy. And the more power we give NSA, for example, to collect data on domestic communications, the greater the chance there is that power might be used for nefarious purposes. And so, again, this too is one of the reasons why I wrote why John Roberts was wrong about health care, was to point out that we've just made government a lot more powerful. And we did it in a way that even Congress, when it enacted the law, didn't intend. Why? Because the Supreme Court rewrote the law not just once, but twice in order to save it. And my book explains why that's such a problem.
All right. Well, folks, I urge everyone to check out. And as the senator said, it's not an expensive book, and you could get it at Amazon. Why John Roberts Was Wrong About Health Care. Very, very easy and informative read. And, Senator, a pleasure talking to you, sir. Hope you'll come back.